This is beautiful. We just kept driving and driving and driving. We're pretty far up, and I said, that's a great group of people. This is what it's all about. These are the people that built our country. Who watched the debate last night? Yeah, it was good, right? It was good. We had a lot of fun. We got very high grades on that. Even people that hate me gave me good marks. Isn't that amazing? Some of those pundits, they hate me so much, and it was so hard. One of them said, he won the debate. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. They were almost crying. You know, one of the things that was interesting, and it came across even more so on television last night, was the room was loaded up. I think they had like 1,000 seats, which isn't a very big room. That's far less than the people we have today. But they had, let's say 1,000, and they were supposed to have the young people from the college. And what happened is all the rich donors and special interests and the lobbyists got all the tickets. Right? Boo, boo, boo. Oh, and I know so many of them. I'm looking at I see these people there. A lot of money, tremendous money, by the way, in that room last night. But I'm looking at these people with those angry faces, and they're looking at me. How could you do this to us? So, and you saw where I complained. I said, all these people, they're giving Bush, who's just wasting money. He's just wasting it. He's taking it. Why don't you just throw it out the window? What they should do is give it to the vets. That would be really nice, okay? Right? But a guy like Bush, he's got $128 million. I've never seen it. It's at the bottom of the pack. And it's just a total, it's such a waste. Well, actually, it's not a waste because all of those handlers that he's got make a lot of money. You know, they make a lot of money. So what you do is I'm looking at the room and I see special interest guys. I see people that represent the insurance companies, the oil companies, the drug companies. That's why we pay so much. You know, the drugs. You know what's happening with the drugs, right? So for Medicare and other things, we're the largest purchaser of drugs in the world. Prescription drugs and other drugs to make people better, fine. And we're the largest. And yet we buy for practically the same price if you go to the local drugstore and take something off the counter. That's what we pay. You know, people say, do you think you can find any waste in the country? How about like you won't believe what we're going to find? This is just one thing out of many. So if you go to the drugstore and pick up a drug, it's not that much difference in price because we're not allowed for some reason. I don't know what the reason is. I do know what the reason is, but I don't know how they can sell it. We're not allowed to negotiate drug prices. Can you believe it? So we buy drugs, biggest in the world, and we pay about $300 billion more than we're supposed to if we negotiated the price. So there's $300 billion on day one we solved. Now here's the difference. In the room last night, you had representatives of drug companies. They are giving money to numerous of these people. Like the head of Johnson & Johnson is Jeb Bush's top fundraiser. So, I mean, tell me. So let me ask you, do you think Jeb Bush is going to make drug prices competitive and he's a good guy. It's Woody Johnson. He's a friend of mine. He's a great guy. But Woody Johnson is the head of Jeb Bush's fundraising thing. So let's say Jeb won, which is an impossibility. It's not going to happen. But let's say, but this applies to everybody else. Let's say Jeb won. Woody Johnson of Johnson & Johnson is the head of his. How is it possible for Jeb, in all fairness to Jeb, to say, Woody, we're going to go out and fight competitively? You're talking about billions and billions of dollars that they won't collect, that they're collecting right now in profits. And that's the way our country's working, folks. So what happened is I made the announcement last night that in the room, you know what happened? A lot of the kids, they were supposed to have like 700 or 800 passes for kids. And I blame the RNC for this. I mean, I think it's terrible what happened last night. I wanted tickets. They said, you have 20 tickets. 20 tickets, I'm the one that brought all the action, right? Am I the one? I mean, if these other guys came up here today, there'd be 4 people in the front row. The owner of the building, it wasn't even meant for this. He said, this is the biggest crowd we've ever had. So what happens is I thought it was a protester. It's a friend. I love protesters because the cameras follow. They won't follow, except for that. So it's not possible that, you know, you look at it and you see the kind of money you're talking about. But, so I'm a self-funder. I'm putting up my own money, right? That's a nice thing. I'm way under budget. I'm way under budget. You know, right now I'm 40 million, closer to maybe 50, but I'm $40 million under budget. Isn't that nice? Think of it. I'm $40 million under budget, and I'm number one in the polls, all right? A guy like Jeb has spent $110 million, and he's down in the he's down here. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's just, that's not what the country, we got to get the guy. I give the example of education. In the world, we're ranked number 30, but we're number one in cost per pupil by a lot. Number two is like so far down, they don't even consider it number two. So we are by far the most expensive, and yet we're number 30. We have third world countries that do better than us. Now, you have Sweden and Norway and Denmark and China in the top 4 or 5, right? But we're number 30, and yet we spend more. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you could take a look at what I'm doing here, if we could spend less and be 1 or 2 or 5 or something, you know? Now, one of the reasons we do so badly is Common Core. Common Core is a disaster. Common Core is a complete disaster. So we get rid of that, and we start educating your children in New Hampshire, well, locally. I mean, the people, they hate Common Core, but they don't hate it because they're bad people or they're haters. They're not haters. They hate it for a different reason. It's no good. Who wants to have a bureaucrat in Washington taking care and educating your kids? We don't want it. You want to have local education. And I've seen it and I've watched it, and it's beautiful. The parents, and they have the children, and they have their boards, and it's so beautiful. And then, by the way, their children graduate, and they stay on the boards because they love the school, because their children went there. That's what you have to have. It's so important. So we want to be at a point where we can spend less money and have a far stronger country and a better country. I look at military expenditures. You know, I'm going to build the military bigger, better, stronger. And I guarantee we can do it for less money. You know, I hear stories like, they're ordering missiles that they don't want because of politics, because of special interests, because the company that makes the missiles is a contributor, and the other company that makes the missiles that aren't good isn't. So we're ordering missiles that the generals don't want because of politics. So here's the beauty. They come to me and they say, we would like you to use such and such a company. He's helped your friends. I don't care if he's helped my friends. I have no friends as far as I'm concerned. You know who my friends are? You're my friends. That's my friend. So I think self-funding is a big deal. Look, I'm the only one that's self-funding, Democrat, Republican. Everyone else is taking money from, I call them the bloodsuckers. You know, when these guys, they're really good. When they give our candidates, when they give Ted $5 million, when they give Marco, did Marco do well last night in the debate? Did Ted do well last night in the debate? How did you like my answer when they talked about waterboarding? Did people like that? I think so. Because some people thought it was, controversial. Okay, so we have waterboarding. Some people consider it less than torture, much less than torture. And I said, look, and they gave the answer to Ted, and Ted didn't like, he wanted to stay away from it. I didn't. He sort of didn't like the concept of the waterboarding. It wasn't that he wanted to stay away from it. And my answer was this. We are living in medieval times. There's never been a time like this. When I used to read medieval times, they chop your head off. And I haven't heard that, even in the Wild West, you get shot, right? They'll shoot you, but they don't chop your head off, right? So now they chop your head. James Foley, you look at what's going on. And I said to myself, waterboarding's peanuts compared to what they're doing. And they said about waterboarding, the question last night. And I said, look, as far as I'm concerned, waterboarding immediately is okay. And if we can get much worse than waterboarding, that's okay too. And everybody was shocked and they all liked it. In life and in business, you have to know, that's right, politically correct. We don't want to be politically correct, says the man with the red hat saying, make America great again, right? But so important, and it was just, I didn't know this question was coming up, but I gave an answer that wasn't maybe politically, well, we can't be politically correct. We don't have the time, we don't have the strength, we don't have anything to be. It's okay, you want to be good. You want to be good people. But they are doing such a horrible thing. You know, when they're willing to fly airplanes into the World Trade Center, fly airplanes into the Pentagon, head an airplane into the White House, where we had some very brave souls on that plane that ditched it before it got there, right, in Pennsylvania, right? Those people were great. But when they have this kind of hatred and this kind of evil, waterboarding, and I guarantee you they're sitting back there saying, can you imagine these stupid people talking about waterboarding like it's the worst thing, and they're chopping off heads. So when they gave me the question, and the best response I got last night from all of these donors, that you have to understand, they weren't my donors. They were donors to these other guys, and you could see pockets. They went out, because they're rich, and they bought the tickets from the kids that were given the tickets. The kids made a fortune last night. The kids were scalping tickets last night. And the people out there, and I was told, oh no, we gave them to the children of the college. They didn't give them to the child. Unless the child is 54 years old and lives on Park Avenue. So I looked at that audience. I said, this is really tough, because I have an audience where I am their worst nightmare. Because I'm not taking their money. I'm richer than they are. I don't need their money. And that's what we need. That's what we need. So it was a very interesting, and people found that interesting last night. In fact, when I heard about it, I said, thank you very much. What the hell did he say? He wants to know. Go ahead, say it. He wants to know, who's paying for the wall? Who's paying for the wall? Mexico. Actually, we kid and we have fun. They are paying for the wall. First of all, no, they are. Why wouldn't they? They make a fortune off the United States. They have not helped us at all with illegal immigration. We have tremendous problems with illegal immigration. New Hampshire, you know, I have so many friends in New Hampshire. And, you know, before the political thing that we started 7 months ago, I've been up here many times. Great place, great people up here. And that's why I'm asking for your vote. You guys better vote for me. But I don't need your money. You know what I said before? I said, I don't need your money. I need your vote, right? Keep your money. I don't want any of your money. You know, most guys are saying, will you contribute? We'll take anything you have. Give us an undershirt. No. I don't want anything. I want one thing. On Tuesday, you have to get out and vote, okay? Because we have a movement going on that is unbelievable. What's going? It was on the cover of Time magazine last week, and they talk about this movement. It's unbelievable what's happening. And no matter where we go, we get these crowds, and we're going to do great in South Carolina. We're going to do great in Nevada. We're going to do great in the SEC, which are the next events. But we have something going on, and it's a simple movement. It is Make America Great Again. We're going to make America great again. And we maybe have a chance of making America greater than it's ever been before. We're going to bring our jobs back. You know, you got stripped in New Hampshire. You got absolutely stripped. But one of the things I hear about New Hampshire so much, and it's shocking, I've heard it for a long time now, but shocking, because you drive through the beautiful wooded areas. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. It's one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see. And it's true, there's a love for it. And there's a great spirit in New Hampshire. There's a great spirit. But one of the problems, and it just doesn't seem to go, and that's why it's so surprising to me, and maybe it makes more of an impression, the heroin problem, the drug problem, and all of the stuff that's pouring in is incredible. I mean, the drugs coming into New Hampshire is just incredible. And when I'm with people, when I come out and I'm with groups, usually people will talk about, like, let's talk about the military, which they do talk about, and they talk about the vets. We have ALLWell. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, the owner was such a nice guy. I saw him. I said, oh, if this mic doesn't, I'd like it if the mic didn't work. You know why? I could say, well, that's all we can go, folks, and we're not going to pay the rent, right? We're not going to give the rent. See, now the country would pay the rent if the mic didn't work. If the mic doesn't work for me, I say, sorry, I'm not paying anything, right? So anyway, but we have Al, and we have so many of the people from the vets. But the thing that I hear more than anything else in terms of New Hampshire is the drug problem. And you just don't associate it with New Hampshire. but they have a tremendous problem. It's pouring across largely from the southern border, and we're going to put that wall up, and you're not going to have that problem. And we got to take the people that are addicted and badly, badly, badly addicted, and we're going to work to get them better. And then, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting with the drug thing and alcohol and other addictions, but if you don't start, it's really easy to solve, okay? It's like smoking. If you never smoke a cigarette, you don't have a problem quitting. If you never start taking the drugs, you're not going to have a problem. And when we make it so hard for them to get into the country, beyond even New Hampshire, because we're going to have that wall is going to be so big and so strong and so powerful, and we're going to have our border guards. We're going to have our border guards. You know, a couple of these politicians that I'm dealing with, they're politicians. They said to me about 2 months ago, they said, "You can't really build a wall, Donald, can you?" Of course, I said, "A wall? I build buildings that are 94 stories tall. Walls, you know, I mean, give me a break." And it'll be a nice wall. Beautiful. It'll be a big wall, a beautiful wall, and we're going to name it Trump someday, maybe, right? So we have to make it beautiful. No, I don't want to name it. But it will be a powerful wall. And I always talk about, right now they have these walls where they build ramps. I never understood. They build ramps going over these little walls, right? You know, we have walls already, little walls. I call them the little baby walls. And they build ramps, and they have these trucks driving right over the ramps, over the wall and down, loaded up with drugs. They drop the drugs off all over the country. Then they come back over the ramp. I said, why don't they just knock the wall down? It's a little wall. I never understood. Why did they why do they do the ramp? I guess maybe they want to be nice to us. They don't want to do any destruction, right? So we end up getting the drugs, and they end up getting the money. It's not going to happen that way anymore, folks. It's not going to happen that way. So when I say I'm going to build a wall, these politicians come up to me, and they're well-meaning, but they're politicians. They don't know anything. I mean, honestly. They know one thing, how to get reelected. That's what they know. They're good at that. And the way they get reelected is all those guys in the audience last night take care of them. And the drug company guys make sure that you never negotiate the price of drugs. And the oil guys make sure that all good things happen with respect to oil, right? And all of these things, that's the way the system works. Because I was on the other side of the system for a long time and a very big donor. And I understand it. But when you have the insurance companies, you look at insurance, health insurance, the reason we have the lines, the artificial lines around each state is because the health insurance companies, the insurance companies want to have it that way. Because they'd rather have monopolies in each state than have hundreds of companies going all over the place bidding so that we can get our prices way, way, way down. Because Obamacare is a disaster, and it's expensive, and it's no good, and it doesn't work. So the insurance companies say, they were in the room, I saw them last night, I know these people. The insurance companies say, listen, I want to take New York. You take some other place. You take Iowa. You take some other place. I want California. Personally, California is very good. But they have lines around the states, okay? And New Hampshire has the same thing. And for those of you that own business, it's very hard to get many competitive bids. So what the insurance companies do is they say, I'd rather have New Hampshire and not have a lot of bidding than have the right to bid all over the United States, right? One problem. You can't make a good deal. So hard for me to make deals. I have thousands of employees. So hard for me to make deals on health care because I can't get bids, all right? Now, once we get rid of the lines, it'll be easy. Why can't we get rid of the lines? Because the insurance companies give tremendous political contributions to the guys that I'm on the stage with. So whether it's the insurance companies or the drug companies or the oil companies, it's all the same thing. We're never going to get our country back if we keep doing this. We're never going to get it back. I tell the story, and to me it's a great, I could use any one of 100 different places, probably much more than that. But where Ford moves, they're building their big plant, and they're building it in Mexico. And they're closing a lot of plants. They're building a $2.5 billion automobile plant. Trucks, automobiles, and parts. $2.5 billion in Mexico. And I say, how is that good? How is that good for us? Look, New Hampshire knows better than anyone, because you've lost a lot of business to Mexico, okay? I see these places now that some are empty and some are converted to senior citizens, some are converted to apartments. But in the meantime, you need jobs. You don't necessarily need the apartments, you need jobs. and you're taking the jobs out, you're giving them to other countries, and we're going to end that. We're not going to let it continue to happen. We're not going to have any jobs. You look at manufacturing right now. Look at Caterpillar Tractor. It's a great, great company. But if you look at what Japan is doing with their currency, the yen, they're dropping the hell out of it. They're devaluing their currency to such a point that Komatsu is knocking the hell out of Caterpillar. We have to say, you're going to do that, we don't want your cars. Okay? They won't believe it, except if I'm the messenger. You got to have the right messenger. No, you got to have the right messenger. You know, see, the problem is, we have people that don't know the first thing about negotiation, really. Business, but common sense, but it's negotiation. These people are rank amateurs. They are, I don't want to say what they are. I refuse. I'll get in trouble. See those people? See all those cameras back there? They've never driven so far to get to a location in their life. But you see all those cameras back there. But it's really true. We have tremendous power. Because China is sucking us dry, and without us, China, we've rebuilt China. They've taken our jobs, our base, thousands, millions of jobs, by the way, not thousands, millions and millions of jobs. Thousands and thousands of factories have closed because of China. And it doesn't do us any good. And by the way, they sell their product, they put it in, no tax, no nothing. You try putting your product into China. You can't do it, okay? It's really hard. Now, Boeing tried it, and they made Boeing build a whole new big airplane complex, and they kept all of its intellectual property. They wanted this, they wanted that. And all of a sudden, Boeing's going to have this massive place in China, and they're not going to have to build airplanes here anymore. So how does it help us? It's going to be a whole different ballgame. So we have a lot of power over these countries. Now, when Japan takes their yen, they have a very strong leader, very smart leader, one of their best leaders in a long time. When Japan, I'll get along with him great. He'll like me, I'll like him, but I'll just say, listen, name is Abe. You're not going to be able to rip us off anymore. It's okay, don't worry about it. He'll respect us more. I have the biggest bank in the world as a tenant at one of my buildings. It's from China. I sell millions and tens of millions of dollars of apartments, condominiums in Manhattan, to Chinese people. I love China. Look, there's nothing wrong. I like China. I like Japan. I like them all. Who? Okay, no, what does that say? Oh, no, that's okay. That's not a protest. That's a friend. That's a friend. I had a very bad voice, though, for a friend, right? That's had a very, very hostile voice for a friend. Anyway, so what we have to do. Right, yeah, get him out of here, please. Get him out. Oh, it's unbelievable. You know the amazing thing, though, they're lost. They're lost people. Get them out, security, please. You know, it's an amazing thing. Here we're talking about Japan ripping us off and everybody ripping us off. We're talking about health care, military vets, but we're all talking. It's all good. I mean, there's nothing bad. I always say if I could take a person like that, sit him in a room for 10 minutes and talk to him, I'd convince him, unless they got problems. He goes, I didn't want to say it, okay? Who said that? Raise your hand. He goes, that's the guy right there, my man. Oh, boy. So anyway, we have the greatest business leaders in the world. We're going to take those trade deals, we're going to rip them up, and we're going to redo them. And they're going to be great. We're going to do them. And we have all the power. You know, see, Obama doesn't think we have any power. We owe Japan right now $1.6 trillion. We owe China $1.7 trillion. Isn't it amazing? They come in, they take our jobs, they take our money, and we owe them money. That's like a magic act in reverse. No good for us, good for them. They take our jobs, they take our money, they ruin our base, we owe them money. Not going to happen anymore, folks. We have Carl Icahn, one of the great businessmen, very rich guy, billionaire many times over. We have a lot of the great businessmen they're not supporting me because I don't want their money, but they are endorsing me and they want to, I'm going to take these guys. These are killers. These are people that some of them you wouldn't like. Some are very nice. Not a lot of them. Who cares? Who cares? Some are vicious, violent, horrible human beings. Do we care? Right now we have nice people. Right now we have political hacks negotiating with China. I mean, I deal with China. They're unbelievable. They come in, and 20 people will come in to make one deal. Like 20. Because they want to make sure nobody's making a mistake. And they're tough. And they don't walk in and say, oh, isn't it a beautiful day? So lovely. How's everything going? Let's have dinner. They come in, we will make deal. Okay? There's no games, folks. We play games. There's no games. They're business. I like it. They're about business. And we have, you're right. We have political hacks. We have people that don't know the first thing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get our finest, which we should have been doing for years. We're going to get the finest business people in the world, our best negotiators, our smartest people. They don't want anything. They don't want anything. And we're going to make great deals. So with China, we had a trade deficit of $500 billion. And that's what we have, between $300 and $500 billion a year. What the hell kind of a deal is that? And you want to do business with them, you can. With Japan, it's a massive deficit also, smaller, but a massive deficit. Look at the power we have. Look at the power we have to negotiate. If we ever told them, look, we're not going to be able to take your cars, but meant it, but we have to mean it. Some of our guys, I remember many years ago, we said that to Japan. And they were just about ready to make the right deal, and our guys cracked. And you know why they cracked? Because the lobbyists and the special interests got them to crack. So we never took it to the end. Because they send us, I was in Los Angeles, I saw the biggest ships I've ever seen. They're loaded up with cars. They come pouring like the Long Island Expressway, 40 miles an hour, off these big boats, and then the boats go back to get more. What the hell do we get? We send them like beef. And they don't want the beef, right? They send it back. And by the time we send it, the fourth time they take it, and then they call it Kobe beef, and they sell it for a lot more money because it's aged. It's really aged. Ugh. We should get a discount, then they charge much more. So look, we kid and we have fun, but you know what? Got to have fun. If we can't smile at ourselves, and if we can't smile at how stupidly we're being run, then we're just going to make ourselves not feel so good. So we have to smile, but we're not smiling. They recently, Nikki Haley, she made a speech, and it was fine, and she talked about anger. And she said, essentially, that Donald Trump is angry. The last one that I didn't do, I think it was my best performance because I got the vets $6 million. Nobody even knows about it. But we got the vets know about it, and Al knows about it. I said, where is Al? Where the hell is Al? Where is he? Where's Al? Al, come here, Al. Get up here, Al. Get up here. Come here. This guy is so great. He devotes his life to the vets. And he's been so supportive. Get up here, Al. I've never done this with him. I got to recognize him. Come on. We love him. Don't we love him? Come here.
I had the opportunity to speak to you earlier about why a 22-year Marine and a 10-year legislator and one who sent her son to war and went to war supports Donald Trump, 150%.
I'll tell you what. He goes not only to my events, he goes to other people's events, and he wants to find out where it's all coming from. And he knows who's going to take care of the vets, and it's not going to be the politicians. They talk. They're all talk, they're no action. So, now, we're going to build the military the same way we're talking about with trade. We're going to build the military. We're going to build it up. But we're going to negotiate prices, and we're going to use the right companies, and we're going to get the right stuff. We're going to have the greatest stuff ever created, and it's not going to be political anymore. The money they're spending on things they don't even want is ridiculous. And then they're sending it over to allies that don't want to fight, and a bullet shot. I always talk about 2,300 Humvees, armor-plated, the best in the world. Now, I love the wounded warriors. If they had these, they wouldn't be walking around or not walking around. They wouldn't be in the condition they're in. They're the most amazing people of all. Would you say, Al? You know, they have, I mean, I see these people and their legs are gone or their arms are gone or worse, and they have a better attitude than we have. They're unbelievable people. But we send over 2,300, the best armor-plated Humvees in the world, and a bullet shot, and we give them to our allies. Our allies. We don't even know who the hell our allies are. We don't even know who they are. We're giving them to people that are fighting governments. We're better off letting the damn governments say that, because these people are worse than the governments. We're spending billions and billions. So we give them Humvees. They have no spirit to fight. A shot's fired in the air. They run out of the Humvees. They're gone. And the enemy takes over 2,300 Humvees. What the hell are we doing? Okay, what are we doing? So if you remember, I said take the oil, right? I was the first one. And you know, it's funny. I said take the oil. For 4 years I've been saying take the oil. Now they take the oil. They're not taking it, though. They're bombing it, but they're bombing it extremely gently, because they're afraid that it's going to cause an environmental hazard in the air. Can you believe? No, can you believe this? Do you think General George Patton ever said we can't bomb the oil because it may have an impact on the carbon footprint? Do you think George Patton, he would have slapped the hell out of that environmental, you know, that environmentalist would have walked up to him, General, you cannot bomb because residue will go into the atmosphere and it will affect the carbon footprint. You know what George Patton would have done? He would have slapped the hell out of that guy. That would have been the end of that environmentalist. And by the way, I've received so many environmental awards. You know, I'm not going to knock it. We need clean air. We need clean water. We need beautiful, beautiful, clean water. We need clean air. You know, I get a kick where it's not funny. The president talks about the carbon footprint. Then he goes to Hawaii in a 747 Air Force One that's very old, with the old engines, that spews carbon and everything else into the air. And he goes to Hawaii, stays there for, I guess, almost 3 weeks, and then he comes back on this massive plane with massive engines, and they're very old, and they're not environmentally friendly, to put it mildly. And then he gets back and he talks about the carbon footprint. Give me a break. Stays there for 3 weeks, a lot of golf. He plays more golf than the guys on the PGA Tour play. So we're gonna build up our military, but we're gonna build it up with supervision where we get better than we're getting now for no more money. In other words, we can build it. I don't even like to say less money, but we can build up our military, and we'll build it bigger, better, stronger than ever before, and we won't spend any more money. It's just like the drug situation where I told you, well, we can't negotiate the price of drugs. You probably have that same stuff in the military, and people don't want to talk about it because they want to keep it that way. Oh, am I going to make enemies with some of my old friends? My old friends. Some of those guys I sat there, I looked, and then you wonder why they booed me when I attacked poor Jeb Bush, who brings out his mother because he needed help. No, he needed help. Mommy, please come walk in the snow, Mom. I like his mother, but I don't like that stuff. I don't like that stuff. We got to do it on our own, okay? We got to do it on our own. So we're going to do that with the military. And we're going to make this country so strong, and we're going to make those borders so strong. And I'm telling you, I was going to tell you about the Ford plan. So here's what happens. So Ford opens this plant. I wouldn't let it happen. I wouldn't let it happen. But let's say Hillary, can you believe it? Now, I will say this. I don't agree with Bernie Sanders on much, although I agree with him on two things. Trade. On trade, he said we're being ripped off. He just doesn't know how much. I know how much. Bigger than he even thinks. The difference is I can fix the trade, and I'm going to make a lot of money with trade, whereas he can't do anything about it. He just knows we're being ripped off. So he's got half of it, but he doesn't have the other half. But he's right with Hillary because she's, you know, look, she's receiving a fortune from a lot of people. There's no way she's going to tell Ford to do anything because I know people that donate to her. She can't do it. She can't do it. If she wanted to do it, she can't do it. So here's what happens. So I say I'm not going to let that happen. Ford's not moving because we have a lot of power if we want to use it. And if Hillary says it, well, I'm not going to let it. Look, she's smart. She's going to say I'm not going to let it happen. And then the following hour, she'll get a call from one of her donors or one of the lobbyists representing Ford that gave millions of dollars to Hillary, or one of the special interests, or one of the shareholders that they know. Oh, you have to let it happen. And 100% she's going to let it happen. Now, here's the difference. They call me, and they'll say, Mr. President, this is a wonderful day. I say, explain to me how it's good. You're closing up in Michigan and other places plans to build in Mexico. Please explain how it's good. And they'll say, well, it's good, but we do want to build it. I said, that's okay. You can build it. But we are going to charge you a 35% tax for every car, every truck, every part that you bring across our border. We have to do it. We have to do it. And here's what's going to happen. As sure as you're standing there, and I'm sorry we couldn't get your seats, but there are just too many people. Yeah, don't worry about it. But as sure as you're standing there, they'll say the following. This is 100%. This isn't like maybe 82%. This is 100%. They'll say, Mr. President, we have to build the plant. We want to build the plant. We have commitments to build the plant. I said, that's okay. You're going to pay 35. They are going to call back the following day. And they're going to say, could we persuade you? I'm going to say no. Then I'm going to be called by people that I know. I'm going to say no. Nobody gives me money. I'm going to say no. And then I'm going to say, do it or trouble. And they're going to say the following. They're going to call me back within 48 hours. And they're going to say, Mr. President, we've decided to build the plant in the United States. I'll say, thank you. Thank you. That's what's going to happen. That's what, by the way, 100%. 100%. Nabisco in Chicago has a massive plant. No more Oreos. They're moving the plant to Mexico. No more Oreos. It's a good thing. We could lose a little weight. No more Oreos. But Nabisco has a big plant in Chicago. They're moving the plant to Mexico. Tennessee had a big deal for a massive automobile company, was going to build a big plant in Tennessee. It was all set. The deal was almost set. It was going to be announced. Just before it got announced, they decided they were going to move it to Mexico. So you tell me why we should allow this to happen, and while we should allow these cars and these trucks and these parts to pour into our country and no tax. Okay? Now, I'm a free trader, but you can only be a free trader when something's fair. I want fairness. Same thing with China. China, it's true. China sends everything in here. You know, we're stupid. We're stupid. We have stupid leaders. We have stupid people running things. China sends billions and billions and billions of product into our country. No tax, no tax. You try sending something into China. You can't do it, folks. They call it a tariff. I have a friend, he's a very rich guy. There goes the rent. One more time, there's no rent. One more time, George, if you pay the rent, you're fired. One more time with this mic and you're fired, George. So, I have a friend, he's a rich guy. This is an expensive item. But he bought an airplane from a man in China who bought the airplane over here, and he can't get it back to China because the tax is so massive, almost as much as the price of the airplane, that he was better off selling the plane. So he sold the plane to my friend at a huge discount because he didn't want to pay the tremendous tariff or tax to get the plane back into China. People don't know those stories. People don't know those stories, okay? And their stories are all over the place, all over the place. A year ago, if you've been following what I've been saying, well, yeah, almost. I've been doing this now for 7 months. Can you imagine I've been a politician for 7 months, all right? Can you believe this? June 16th, coming down the famous escalator. A big decision, because it takes guts, believe me, to run for president. It does. It takes guts. You need a lot of guts, and we need a lot of energy and a lot of everything. You need a lot. But it's going great, and we love it, and we love it, and we love what we're doing. We love the end game. I don't love doing it. It's not that I love this. I love the end game because we have something that we cherish, that we love, our country, and we're going to do such great things with it. You know, we're going to do such great things. But we're coming down the escalator, and if you were here, then I was talking about, in that general vicinity, I was talking about what Japan's doing, and you see what's happening with Caterpillar. And I told you, I have a friend who's a big excavator, buys big equipment, always buys it from Caterpillar, and he bought from, and this was a while, now you see what's happened to Caterpillar stock. But he bought from Komatsu, which is a big excavator, a big company that makes tractors, etc., in Japan. I said, what happened? He said, I love Caterpillar, but I can't help it. I have an obligation to my family, my company, my employees. I bought from Komatsu. Why? Because they have so devalued the yen that I had no choice. I had to do it, Donald. And I said, really? And he felt badly about it. I said, is the equipment as good? He said, no, but it's good. It's very good. It's not bad, but I had no choice. And I said to people, you know, if you own Caterpillar and some of these companies, with what these foreign countries are doing with their currencies, especially China, by the way, which is the king of the world of currency manipulation, the king of the world, they'll never allow our companies to compete with their companies, ever. And they do it based on currency manipulation. That's why the TPP, the trade agreement that they're trying to sign, is so bad. China's not in the agreement. But the countries that are, there's nothing really talking about currency manipulation. And that's the principal tool that these countries are using to kill us. They're killing us. And we're going to get it stopped. And that agreement is a horrible agreement. And by the way, China's not in it now, but it's so beautifully set up. They're watching it. They're studying it. They have it. They are going to go at some point into the back door. They'll be in it. And they'll take over that agreement, and they'll make even more money than they're making right now. So I'm not upset with China. I'm not upset with Mexico or Japan. Their leaders are just too smart for the people running our country. The people running our country don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. And I refuse to say they're stupid. See, the woman just said, they're stupid. I said, I refuse to say that. I'm going to admonish you. Okay, you're admonished. Remember when the man called out and said bad things about Obama? And I was hit by the press for not admonishing him. So now what I'll do is I'll admonish. Look, okay? That wasn't a very serious admonishment, was it? Look, she's looking down. Don't feel bad. Don't worry, we're not throwing you out. You're one of our fans, right? So we're not throwing you. Staying right there. No, but the people that are running our country. And then you look at the granddaddy of all, which I thought was the greatest, but it's not. The greatest follows it. So the Iran deal, where we give them $150 billion. We get nothing for it, nothing. We don't even get, I mean, ultimately we got our prisoners back. We essentially paid $150 billion. That's got to be the greatest ransom in history, if you think about it, right? I just thought of this. $150 billion for the four guys. We pay $150. That should have never happened. We should have gotten those prisoners back 4 years ago or 3 years ago. We go in and we say, we got to have our prisoners back. Before we start the negotiation. They're going to say no. We're going to say bye-bye. We're going to leave the negotiation now. Enjoy yourself. And then you ratchet up all of the things that we do. Right? You ratchet the hell out of it, and you come back. They'll get a call within 1 day or 2 days if they're tough. And they are. They're great negotiators. And they'll say, we're going to give you your prisoner. Then I go a step further. I say, one of the reporters from CNN, Dana, commonly known as Dana. Where's Dana? Is she back there? She said something that was very interesting. The great Dana Bash. She's a great, great reporter, great talent. She's a great on-air talent. But she said, you know, you've been saying about your father. My father said, son, take the lumps out. Because he said, sometimes I'm too direct. And I learned from my father, because he was a great teacher. I learned, take the lumps out. So now I'll go back. We have our prisoners back, right? Now I go in to see our great negotiators, the Iranians, the Persians. The Persians are great negotiators. Now, in the old days, I would have said, we're not giving you the $150 billion. And they'll get angry, we'll get angry, everybody's angry. And sometimes it takes a long time to recover from that. So that's the old days. But you get wise, especially when you have a smart father that teaches you, right? So now I say differently. I'll say, gentlemen, we have a problem. We owe $19 trillion. The Republicans just approved a budget that's going to add another $2 trillion. It took them like less than a day to get this thing done. It's an embarrassment that they improved it. The only one that benefits are the Democrats. They got everything they wanted, funding the Syrian refugees coming in, funding other refugees coming in, funding illegal immigrants. They got everything they wanted, right? So now I say it differently. I say, we don't have money. Sorry. We want to give you the money so badly. We don't have anything. Okay? That's nicer than saying we're not giving it to you, isn't it? So they'll get angry, but not nearly as angry, because by the time I finish with them, they'll feel sorry for us, okay? And they'll say no, 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 and they'll leave, and a week later we'll call back and we'll make it. We'll save $150 billion, okay? I guarantee we'll save 100. And we'll end up with an agreement that's better than the one we have now. We never walked from that deal. Think of it. One of the things you have to do every once in a while is walk. How do you negotiate a deal where they're dancing in the streets all over Iran, calling us stupid, burning the flag? This is before the deal got done. They're celebrating the deal, saying how stupid we are, saying it's one of the greatest deals ever made. They're dancing in the streets. The population is even saying, what a great deal this is, right? And we keep going in for more meetings. If they started dancing in the streets before I made a deal, I'd say, I'm getting the hell out of here, because it would be embarrassing, right? We never once walked from the deal. And I kept waiting for Obama to walk from the deal, meaning his person, Secretary Kerry. Wouldn't it be great? Hey, how about if I represented the United States instead of Kerry? Do you know how good that deal would be? Do you know how good that deal would be? Okay? Do you know how good that deal would be? Or if we got one of our great business people to negotiate that deal. Who the hell? It wouldn't be like Trump, but that's okay. But look, so here we have this deal that's a horror show. 24-hour, 24-day inspection period. But that doesn't start, the clock doesn't start ticking until you go through a whole process. All sorts of other problems like self-inspection. How about self-inspection? Remember? And I joke, Obama calls him the supreme leader. He said, the supreme leader said, I'm not calling him the supreme leader, not my supreme leader. The supreme leader said the following. There's something going on here, I'll tell you, something very strange. But how about you call up and you say, this is a self-inspection area where it's a very secret area where probably that's where they're making their deal, right? So it calls up and says, we hear you may be making nuclear in this area and you have to inspect. Would you inspect and call us back? Oh, yes, we'd love to. Next day. No problem, Mr. President, we aren't doing it. We just checked. We're self-inspecting. Where do these people come from? Where do our people come from? And as bad as it is, it's worse. Okay, so I've been saying it's one of the great deals I've ever seen. Greatest deal I've ever seen. To get $150 billion, we get nothing, right? Okay. But then I thought to myself, wow, it's not. That's peanuts. What else are they getting? They're getting Iraq. They've wanted Iraq forever. Forever. But we have Iraq. And they have Iran, and they were always the same militarily. And they fight, and I tell this all the time. They fight and fight and fight. They move 10 feet here, 10 feet here. Somebody uses gas, it gets exploded, They stop fighting for a couple of years, then they go back and they fight. The line never moves, right? They fight. It neutralized. And I said in 2003, 2004, don't do it. I didn't know about weapons of mass destruction, which turned out that they didn't have. But one thing good about, if you take any look, their leadership, anything, in Iraq, they used to kill terrorists, right? Saddam Hussein killed terrorists. Okay, today it's Harvard for terrorism. You want to be a terrorist, you go to Iraq. Saddam Hussein used to get great pleasure out of killing terrorists. We didn't have these problems like that. So he would kill terrorists. Now we have a mess. So and this only came up in my mind a couple of weeks ago, because I talk about the Iran deal because I cannot believe how bad a deal it is. It's a great example of bad deal making, right? And then I said, wait a minute, the best deal is that they're actually getting Iraq. So Iraq has the second largest oil reserves in the world. So Iran is now getting Iraq. They're taking it over, just like you hear, they're taking it over. Now they're getting Yemen, and they don't want Yemen. But they do like the border between Saudi Arabia. I mean, I'm good at this stuff. I talked about bin Laden in my book that was written in 2000 before the World Trade Center came down. And Joe Scarborough, a great guy, or Morning Joe they call him. Anybody know Morning Joe? Great guy. He heard about it. He got the book. He said, Trump talked about Osama bin Laden 2 years before the World Trade Center came down. Because I saw this guy on television. They did a report on him. I read some papers about him. I said, he's a bad guy. You better do something. I wrote about him in the book before. He could have been taken out. He should have been taken out. Clinton had a chance to take him out, and he didn't do it. He had a chance to get him, and he didn't do it. Bush should have done it, but he didn't do it, and they didn't do it. And the World Trade Center came tumbling down. Thousands of lives. Thousands and thousands. Worst attack in the history of the United States. Worse than Pearl Harbor, because it was a civilian attack, not a military attack. Worse than Pearl Harbor. So we have to go, and we have to get smart. You have Iran. Now they're rich. They don't have to build nuclear. They can afford to buy it. And do you notice where they're spending all their money? They just bought 118 Airbus jets. That's Boeing's competitor. Boeing is here. Airbus is over in Europe. They didn't buy from Boeing. They bought from Airbus. So they bought in Europe. They're buying missiles from Russia. They're buying all sorts of stuff from Italy and other countries. They don't buy anything from us. 150 billion. They're giving us nothing. We get nothing. We get nothing. And then on top of it, after the deal is made, they attack our 10 wonderful sailors, and they put guns to their head, they drop them on their knees, put your hands up, and they have some rough guy with a rough voice essentially screaming at them, right? You heard it. Humiliation. Now, they'd still be there. They'll be there forever, except they're smart. They didn't get their 150 billion until 2 days after that. And they didn't want to say, oh, gee, we're not going to get. They're smart. So they let them go. Vicious, vicious humiliation for us. Not going to happen with us, folks. It's not going to happen with us. All right? Just remember that. So we're going to be tough on the border. We're going to deal with China very nicely, but we have a lot of power, and we have a lot of money that goes to them. We don't have a lot of money because they suck it out, but a lot of money goes to them. We rebuild China. What happens is, last night, a missile went off in North Korea. And nobody knows what it is, and they're sort of saying it's for satellites. Well, okay. So there's a lot of threats being made by this guy. We have 28,000 soldiers on the line. A lot of threats, a lot of threats. South Korea makes a fortune. Every time I buy televisions, thousands of televisions a year. Every time I buy them from South Korea. We don't make televisions anymore in this country, okay? We should. We don't make televisions anymore. We used to make Zenith and this, and we don't make them anymore. RCA. So now you got to buy them from there. Thousands. They're an economic behemoth. They pay us peanuts. They pay us peanuts. They should pay. They should pay. At least break even. At least something. They should pay. We protect Germany. We protect Japan. We protect places you don't even know about. I've really become good at this stuff because I'm looking at it. And you know, when they say we have 10 times the military budget of anyone else, you know why we do? Because we protect all these countries for nothing. We protect Saudi Arabia. Think of it. No, we protect Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, before the oil came down, now they're making half. Saudi Arabia, before the oil came down, was making $1 billion a day. And we protect them. We get peanuts. And we lease land for our military bases. We pay them rent. Okay? It's over. It's over. It's over. Okay? It's over. So, and honestly, I don't have teleprompters. I don't have a speech that I'm reading. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so nice to be with you. New Hampshire, please vote for me. If you don't vote for me, I'll never speak to you again. All I want is your vote. I will straighten it out. It's so easy. There's so much fat. When you talk about, some of the people that own businesses know really what I'm saying. When you talk about, and this is easier. I mean, the numbers are bigger, but this is easier. Because you have businesses, you know, you look for every penny. Here you're talking about trillions of dollars potentially. But we got to straighten it out. And we have, as an example, our agreement with, our treaty with Japan. If Japan is attacked, we have to attack and go to war and fight whoever attacks Japan. Okay. If we're attacked, they don't have to do anything. These are the deals we have. So if we're attacked, Japan doesn't have to help us. If they're attacked, we have World War III. Not going to happen like this, folks. We got to make it fair and equitable, okay? All right? So I just tell you, because it's New Hampshire and because you have that tremendous problem with drugs, we're going to stop it. You're not going to have the drugs coming in and destroying your children. You're not going to have it anymore, folks. You're not going to have it. Your kids are going to look all over the place, and they're not going to be able to find them, okay? They're not going to be, when mommy and daddy go to Florida and they want to get drugs, they're not going to find them. They're not going to be all over the streets. And so cheap. Part of the problem is this stuff is so cheap. That's the allure. They're not going to find them. They're not going to find them because we're going to stop it up. And we can do it. We have great Border Patrol. You know, I started this where the Border Patrol called me and they said, could you come to Laredo, Texas? I went to Laredo, Texas. That's the first time anybody saw the hat, the white hat, like that guy's hat. The white Make America Great Again hat, right? I went to Laredo. I spent a day. These are incredible people. These are people that want to do the job, and they're being told, stand back. Stand back. Let the people flow through. Leave them alone. Don't touch anybody. You saw the recent, declaration. If you catch anybody, let them go. What the hell is going on here? And we have a massive problem. Illegal immigrants. We have 179,000 criminal illegal immigrants in the country right now. These are people convicted of crimes. Some of them are rough dudes. 179,000 people. That's bigger than any city in New Hampshire. You know that? It's bigger than any city in New Hampshire. We have 179,000 illegal, these are criminals. I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. I'm talking about illegal criminal. We can't have it. It's over. We're getting them out. We're going to have the strongest borders. And by the way, people are coming into our country, but they're going to come in legally through a process. They're going to come in, okay? They're going to come in legally. So I just want to thank you all for coming. It's a great honor to have so many people. And now I'll take my hour-and-a-half drive back the other way. I think I'll miss the Super Bowl, and these are minor details. I couldn't care less. But I just want to say I love you folks. You're amazing people. Amazing people. Amazing people. And on Tuesday, go out and vote, and hopefully vote for Trump. Actually, if you're not going to vote for Trump, don't go out. A lot of people say, a lot of these politicians say, it's not important who you vote for, but you have to go through the process. I feel differently. If you're not going to vote for me, do not vote. Okay? All right. We love you all, folks. Have a good time. Make America